Hello, hello, hello! Welcome back to the Feel Good Factor. I'm Susmita Veganosaurus, and I'm so glad you could join me here today. I'm the oldest in all my cousins. My youngest brother, he's 15 years younger than I am. The little baby of the family. He is a sharp one, very intelligent, very observant, even as a child. And not just intelligent, but also very sensible. He thinks things through before he makes any decisions. He just doesn't get moved by his emotions and make decisions. When he was a kid, he was at our house for the summer holidays. He must have been about 5 or 6. It was in the middle of a weekday and I was ready to go wash my hair. So I'd put oil on my head. I used to do that at some point. I was sitting around waiting for a couple of hours to soak it all in, and then I was planning to go upstairs and wash my hair. My brother looked at me and he was so surprised, this child. He's like, "Are you washing your hair today?" I said, "Yeah." And he's like, "But today isn't Sunday." It was adorable. It was so cute. See, the thing is, in all our families, the way we've grown up is, throughout the week, we'd go to school, do this, that, whatever, have our lives and not wash our hair. And on every Sunday, when we were kids, they'd oil our hair and then let us sit for a few hours and then go and wash our hair with shikakai or something natural. This was way before all of us started using shampoos, which were way more convenient to use than shikakai. So this kid thought, because he'd been doing exactly that all his life, every Sunday is when his mom would, make him have a head bath. He thought Sunday is the only day you can have a head bath. It took me a moment when he was so surprised, like, "Oh, this is not Sunday, but today's not Sunday." It took me only a moment to realize why he thought that. And I started laughing and, kind of pinched his cheeks. And I was like, "Oh, Chinny, you don't have to have head bath only on Sundays. You can wash your hair anytime you like. It's okay. Just because that's the way you've been doing things doesn't mean that's the only way it can be done." He was quite surprised. Mind was blown. Then there's this other story. My husband and I, we'd gone to pick up my nephew from his parents' house, and we were taking him to our house for the weekend. He was really tiny. He was maybe 3 or 4 years old. Oh God, adorable baby he was. On the way in the car, my husband was driving in front and both of us were sitting at the back seat for safety reasons. I know in India kids are allowed to sit in front and whatnot, but we didn't want to do that, so I sat at the back seat with him. And on the drive, I was telling him all the fun things we would be doing that weekend at home and the things we'd put together for him, and we'll do some cooking and baking. And I told him, "You know what? We'll go home. As soon as we go, we'll make some cookies." And his little eyes just popped. He was like, "Make cookies?" He was so surprised. He thought cookies were things that came out of a packet, out of a box. And he never in his little life had imagined that we could actually bake cookies right at home. Now, these are kids. As children, of course, life is full of surprises. We're always learning something new, something interesting. Life is full of wonders. But guess what? Even as adults, life is full of wonders. We think certain things are just the way they are simply because that's what we've seen. That's all we've seen. That's all we've believed. So we don't even question that belief. We just assume this is the way it is. Think about your life. Think about the way you work, the way you create, the way you do your day-to-day things. How many things do you do because you believe that's just the way things are supposed to be done, versus doing things because you feel like doing them and the way you'd like to do them? Or more importantly, how often have you forced yourself to do something simply because you believe that's the way it's supposed to be done? That's the right way, that's the only way. Making reels on Instagram, for example. So many of my coaching clients, they come to me and they say, oh, I don't like social media, I don't like Instagram, I don't like reels, but that's what everyone is doing, so that's the only way to grow my business. Nope, no. Guess what? Just because it's the norm, just because everybody else is doing it or most others you see are doing it, doesn't mean it's the only way, doesn't mean it's the right way even. Just because a bunch of people are doing something doesn't mean it's efficient, effective, doesn't mean it's what's going to help your business. The most important thing to consider when you're marketing, when you're building your brand, is how to be your true, authentic self as much as you can. This doesn't mean just showing how authentic you are on the outside to the world, but also being authentic to your own self. If there is a certain thing you don't want to do, don't push yourself way out of your comfort zone to do it, because if you don't enjoy making reels and you're making them, they're gonna be crap. They're not gonna be nice, right? Because you're doing it out of force. You're doing it because you feel like, okay, this is the way things are to be done, so I'm just doing it. When I ran my restaurant, my vegan restaurant, the way I handled the customers was very different from the way most people would. Not just customers, the whole entire community, like even my team, the collaborations that I did, everyone, the way I dealt with people, the way I interacted with people was just me being fully myself. That's it. I would go talk to people in a very friendly way and I would connect with them. Sometimes, if I'm having a really good conversation and the guest who's having their food is asking me to sit down with them, I just sit without hesitation. I don't keep that perceived professional boundary when it's not necessary to do so. So that's the way I'd interact with them. Same with my team. I'd be a boss, but I'd also be a friend. I learned the hard way how to balance discipline, expectation, getting them to do things, improve themselves, be good, be right, with having fun, surprising them, chilling out, playing games with my team, that kind of stuff. We'd laugh a lot. We'd totally enjoy ourselves. Others who'd see me would be surprised. Like there was this guy who'd come to service the refrigerators. And he would often mention that, you aren't like the other bosses. You actually are very cool with your team, and I haven't seen that happen in the restaurant industry before. Or I had a customer, sometimes, I don't even remember if this person was a friend first and a customer later, or a customer first and a friend later. Like, I don't know whether I'd met them before my restaurant or after, and I have so many friends like this. She said there was a new vegan restaurant that had opened in town, and also run by another lady who was pretty awesome herself. And they went to visit that restaurant. When she came home, she sent a text to me on Telegram saying, "Sis, you've spoiled us. When I went to this other place, I expected the lady there, the owner there, to behave exactly the way you do with all of us. And she was just being her normal, polite self. And I didn't like it because I'm like, oh my God, I felt disappointed because this is what I was expecting, her to be all friendly and chattery and like taking care of us like guests, like truly like guests and not like customers. And all this is nothing like, something that I worked on or I consciously built. So I wouldn't even know how to teach people how to do that. The only thing I can teach is say, be your true self. Just be yourself. If you feel like doing things a certain way, which is out of the normal way of doing that particular thing, don't hesitate. Just do it. If it calls to you, if it feels like you're being your true self when you do it, just do it. This applies to, your business, dealing with your clients, customers, the kind of relationship you build with them. You decide what is the balance of professional and personal. It's up to you to figure that out. And when it comes to branding, marketing, putting the message out there, you decide what it is you feel like writing, what you feel like sharing. Just because someone else is just posting marketing, blatant marketing messages again. Don't feel threatened. Don't feel that's the way the world works. If you feel like sharing something else, something of value, if you feel like being vulnerable, if you feel like sharing stories or talking about your team or the people you work with, whatever you feel like, you do it. And forget about the norm. Don't limit yourself. Because Sunday is not the only day you can wash your hair. You can do it at any time. Yeah, I have a little job for you, like a homework for you today. I want you to sit down and question a few things in your life, like question everything. When you are doing something, when you are making decisions, or even just like following your day-to-day schedule, how much of it are you doing because that's just who you are and it's the right way to do it for you? And how much of it are you doing because you've just accepted that that's the way to be, that's the way to do things? Simplest example I can give you is how you wake up. People believe they need to have an alarm and rush into starting their day early just because it's done that way. That's because it's expected out of you. But do you really need to do that? Ask yourself that. That's just one example of things. Another is keeping your notifications on and responding to people immediately. You may be doing something on your phone, something else, but then just because a notification pops up, you feel like obligated to respond immediately. Do you do that? You probably do that because you feel like somebody's expecting you to respond immediately, right? So maybe you don't have to. Maybe you can put things off for a little later. Nothing's going to happen, right? You're not a doctor. Nobody's dying or suffering because you are not responding. Unless you are a doctor, then, yes, please jump on that emergency, but also take care of yourself. But if you aren't, it's not an emergency. Where are you projecting an emergency where it doesn't exist? So question everything. Just go through your day, your typical day from the morning to the night, and see how many things you're doing simply because you're like, okay, this is the way it's done. And then ask yourself if you'd like to change things, first of all, and if you would, how it's possible. It'll be amazing, the wonders that are hidden, the possibilities that come out. So many creative, interesting possibilities show up when we question things, when we question everything. So yeah, do this, have fun, and I'd love to hear, your takeaways from this. What did you learn? Like when you try out this exercise, just contemplating for a while. I would love to hear from you. So there's a link in the show notes where you can leave me a voice note. Speakpipe.com/Veganosaurus. But anyway, check the show notes. The link is right there. Drop me a short voice message about your takeaway from this episode, or even any of your favorite episodes. I'd love to hear from you, and I might even put your voice note on one of the podcast episodes. Wouldn't that be fun? So yeah, write to me. I'd love to hear from you. And that's it for today. Take care. Talk to you again next week. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of The Feel Good Factor. I'm Susmita Veganosaurus, and I'm looking forward to talking to you again very soon. Bye!